What you missed in Act 1 and 2. The play starts off and the setting is in Denmark. There's a ghost that appears, which is Hamlet's dad. He tells him to take revenge for his killer. The Hamlet acts crazy. Polonius pays a guy named Reynaldo to spy on Hamlet. Ophelia is frightened about Hamlet's madness and tells her father, Polonius. Polonius thinks he found a reason for Hamlet's madness. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern meet Hamlet, and Hamlet finds out that they are sent from the king, so he acts dumb. And now we're in Act 3.
The start of the rising action is where the ghost appears and tells Hamlet that he needs revenge for the death of King Hamlet. But the rising action in Act 3 is where Hamlet starts acting crazy. And the play within a play that Hamlet creates, which reenacts the death of his father. He created this play to see if the ghost was actually right about King Claudius.
The jokes in Act 3. Hamlet is a funny man, but when it comes to jokes, he is the master. In Act 3, Hamlet is talking to Ophelia. He says, and I quote, "This was sometime a paradox, but now the time gives it proof. I did love you once." He's mixing his feelings with Ophelia and making Ophelia's head. He's telling her how being pretty can destroy a woman. This one is personally one of my favorites. Rosencrantz tells Hamlet, and I quote, "My lord, you once did love me." And Hamlet replies with, and I quote, "So I do still, by these pickers and stealers." He's basically telling him that he loves him and he swears by the hand of stealers and pickers, where you cannot swear by the hands of a stealer. He's also sarcastic. In scene 4, line 173, he says, and I quote, "Forgive me, this, my virtue." He says this to his mother. He's basically apologizing for being good.
The climax of the play is Polonius' death. Polonius hides behind the curtains in Gertrude's room while Hamlet is inside. Hamlet suspects that there's someone behind the curtain. He quickly draws his sword and stabs who he thinks is Claudius, but is actually Polonius, killing him. The reason this is the climax of the play is because someone has already died and there's no turning back from this point.
Another debatable climax is the rising of Claudius in the Mousetrap play, because it shows how Hamlet and Horatio are sure that Claudius is the killer.
The character development of Hamlet. After the king demands for the immediate shutdown of the play, he goes to the chapel and starts repenting, and asks forgiveness for the sin he has done. So the character development of this is how Hamlet followed King Claudius to the chapel and planned on killing him, but when he saw Claudius on his knees asking for forgiveness, he realized that if he killed King Claudius then, he would go to heaven, but he wants him to suffer for eternity for what he has done. So he doesn't kill him. This shows the cruelty and cold-bloodedness of Hamlet, and how he got in the way between King Claudius and his god.
Hamlet enters the room where Ophelia is acting like she's reading a book, where he delivers his famous soliloquy. And matter of fact, the most important soliloquy in the whole play. And I quote, "To be or not to be, that is the question."
To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler and the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep.
Here, Hamlet shows us his suicidal thoughts, whether to be or not to be, and gladly he chooses to be and lives, and he kills Claudius. Where Ophelia, at the end of this scene, she chooses not to be and suicides. The second most important soliloquy in this play was said by King Claudius in the chapel when he repents. He says, and I quote, "Oh, my offences rank, it smells to heaven. It hath the primal eldest curse upon it, a brother's murder." Why this soliloquy is important, you might ask? Well, it is important because it shows the viewer that King Claudius actually killed his brother and is guilty for it.
Inner conflicts and outer conflicts are major elements of this play because conflicts are what usually run most plays, including this one. The rising action, climax of the play, and the falling action is run by the inner and outer conflicts. Inner conflicts show the emotion and conditions the characters are under. Like Hamlet is a very decisive and straightforward person with himself, but he also has a lot of conflicts within himself. Like when he asked the major question, to be or not to be, which is him contemplating whether he should escape his struggles by committing suicide like Ophelia, or standing up and fight to take revenge for his father, just as Laertes later does. Outer conflicts are the problems and tensions among the characters in the play, like when the king stood up and ordered Hamlet's play to be shut down and stopped immediately. They were both exposed, Hamlet and King Claudius, they were both exposed to each other's knowledge about each other. Or when Laertes later finds out that Hamlet had killed his father Polonius, and both these outer conflicts led to their deaths.
So let's say you wake up one day, you forgot everything about the play Hamlet and what happened in Act 3. So let me tell you this. Act 3 starts off with Claudius and Polonius arranging a meeting between Ophelia and Hamlet to see what's up with his madness. Hamlet doesn't show any love or affection to Ophelia, and they ask his mom to see what's up with him. And then after that, Hamlet arranges a play, which we can call it a mousetrap, because he arranges the play to see whether Claudius actually killed his father or not. So the play is going on. Hamlet reenacts the death of his father. He pours poison in the player's ear. Claudius knows that scene because he killed his brother. He rises, he's shocked, he orders to end the play. So he then goes to the chapel. Claudius goes to the chapel. Hamlet follows him. He's about to kill him. He sees him repent, so he doesn't kill him, so he doesn't die a good death. He wants him to suffer. After that, he goes in Hamlet. There's a conversation between Hamlet and his mother. Polonius is listening, or secretly listening. Hamlet feels him in the room, and he hears Polonius' voice. He mistakes his voice for Claudius. He stabs him from under the curtains, and he kills, which he thinks is Claudius, but it's Polonius.